Hello, I'm George Scipione, the Director of the Biblical Counseling Institute of the Reformed Presbyterian Theological Seminary here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I would like to address a very significant topic with you, the insanity of the insanity plea. Now, in some previous YouTubes, I've addressed the issue of truth. Where do we get truth from? Absolute truth, whether it's in religion, philosophy, science, and a second topic, the issue of mental illness itself, the very idea of mental illness. But I want to address this important topic because I believe that legally and culturally we have a very significant issue with the insanity plea. You know that sanity means health and insanity means a lack of health or a bad condition. And the argument is this, and it's usually in capital offense cases, murder cases. I am not responsible for my actions because I am insane or was temporarily insane, and therefore I should not be held accountable, or it should be dropped from a capital 1 offense, a premeditated murder, down to something lesser because all the plans I made, I'm not responsible for them. The general topic of victimhood of individuals and the culture have been addressed very well, I believe, in Judge Bork's book, Slouching Toward Gomorrah, and Charles Sykes' 1992 work, A Nation of Victims, The Decaying of American Character. But I want to very quickly summarize the contrast between the biblical Christian view, the Judeo-Christian view of man, and the humanistic pagan view in our culture. According to the Bible, man is unique. Man is the image bearer of God. He's been made for relationship with the triune creator of the universe. He broke that bond and is under sin. But he is still the image bearer of the God that he serves. And he is morally accountable for what he does. First of all to God, and secondly to other human beings. Lastly, to himself. Our culture makes that the primary responsibility. Man is fallen, yet still accountable. The Bible is very clear in several places. For example, in Genesis 9, when God made a covenant with Noah that he would no longer destroy the whole world by a flood, he said, I will require the blood, the shedding of blood, the death of human being at the hands of other human beings or at animals. In Exodus chapter 21, talking about murder cases, God is very, very clear that man is accountable. Premeditated murder is a capital offense, while inadvertent manslaughter is not. And later on in in Numbers 35, God sets up a whole system of cities where people can be protected from people who would avenge blood improperly, or if they really had premeditatedly murdered someone, that they then would be punished. Deuteronomy 21, interestingly, required ancient Israeli elders of a particular city to take responsibility for murders within their realms. And even unsolved murders were to be atoned for because the murdered blood of people polluted the land. Just as the Lord said to Cain after he killed his brother Abel, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. On the other hand, the humanistic view is that we are not accountable to anyone but ourselves. The humanistic view is really ancient paganism just warmed over. Man is a highly evolved animal and merely a material being, and therefore he is who he is because of his genetic makeup and his environmental influences. Man is merely exclusively material, and therefore there really is no moral basis for holding him accountable. You see, this makes physical life of the perpetrator of murder more significant than the lost life of the victim or that lost from the family. And now, of course, we want the state and the victim's family to pay for many years to keep this person alive in incarceration. The insanity plea, I believe, is insanity. It's cultural insanity. It's a suicidal rejection of the concepts of absolute moral truth and accountability. And therefore, what goes with it is justice also. It lowers man to the status of an evolutionary animal, and murder is merely tooth and claw, merely evolutionary annoyance and irritation, the survival of the fittest, as it were. It reduces man to a victim and really eliminates the possibility of morality and justice and righteousness and truth. Therefore, I think it's insanity to plead insanity or to accept that plea culturally. Very interestingly, the Apostle Paul, one of the greatest missionaries, said in his defense before the Roman governor Festus, "If I've done anything worthy of death, let me die. But since I'm innocent, I appeal to Caesar." To wrap this up, I understand that we're not under ancient Israel's laws, but God doesn't change, and his righteous laws contain principles of justice for any nation at any time. Though they're administered differently today, the principles are the same. God's justice and his alone is true justice and allows a culture to have justice. We are not smarter nor more just or fair than God is, and to assume that is arrogance of extremely high nature. The blood of murdered people who have been murdered premeditatedly by others, whether it is someone killing policemen or someone killing a neighbor, cries out from the ground like the blood of Abel. And we as a culture must deal with it. Let me remind you in closing. Sin required the death of an innocent man, the God-man, Jesus Christ, in the place of his people. God could not and would not just wink at the sin. Someone had to pay the price. And this is the good news, that God chose to pay the capital offense that was due to us. That's the good news. Any culture that ignores this will kill justice and will love the perpetrator more than the victim and love the perpetrator more than God. The insanity of the insanity plea. Now that is really crazy. Moral, eternal insanity. I hope you think these things over and consider them. If you want to talk with me, 412-731-8690 phone and gscipione@rpts.edu. The Lord bless you as you think through these important issues.